Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of the Unlaced podcast. We're back on the dance floor. We're absolutely loving it and vibing this year. If you are new here, I thank you for coming along. Please give us a like and subscribe. It's how we grow. And obviously, if you've come back, you know, as I say, I always love you. So much appreciated. The last episode we had was with Maddie Brown. She's an absolute superstar. Two-time Liz Ellis diamond medalist, which is like the equivalent of the Brownlow. No woman in Australia has been able to achieve that feat, winning that twice. So she's an absolute superstar in the game and now commentating. A great episode, great chat with a lovely woman, so go back and check that one. Now this man here, you can't miss him with the mustache and also the golf swing, but he's been in the tabloids everywhere of late in Australia, and rightly so. The man, Jack Jenkins, the newest on the UFC roster, mate. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good. Really happy to be here. I've got to be honest, I feel like I've been stitched up a bit here. I thought I was coming on to Swanee and Jake.
Did you? Hey, do you want to come on that?
And then all of a sudden, you've rocked up to the gym.
With minus Dane
You've said, get in the van. We're doing the potty in the van. And I've gone, hang on, I'm getting in a big white van. Like, is there some candy in here? And I'm like, hang on. No, it's publicity that's in there.
Publicity.
Like, hey, there's publicity in the van. I'm getting it.
That's right. Well, yeah, look, minus Dane Swan today. But hey, we should get you on Swanee and Jake. That'd be fucking awesome.
That'd be good.
Yeah, we've got some stuff coming up next month, so I'll touch bases on that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Stay tuned, actually, because it's going to be freaking funny. But, mate, what a few weeks you've had. Like, you had a adrenaline come down at all, or you still kind of been riding it?
Nah, the biggest come down.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I reckon I was actually saying this to my girlfriend the other day. So I was using it as an excuse for I haven't done anything around the house. Yeah, but after, like, my second fight, I just had this big come down where for sort of like 2 or 3 weeks, it was almost like hard to just do basic shit. Like do your washing, like you're just like in bed and you're like, fuck, I'll get up and I'll go for a run or my training or whatever. And when I get home, it's like midday and I'm like, fuck, I'm not doing anything else today. Like you kind of get like this, and I've heard other fighters talk about it. Like I've heard Eddie Alvarez talk about it where it's like, whether you win or you lose, you get like a little post-fight depression.
Really?
And I sort of went through my last like 6 or 7 where I didn't really get it at all. And I don't know what factor it plays in it that makes you sort of come down off the edge of it. But this one, I think the travel, the weight cut, the sort of enormity of the task I had going over there, coming back, it was like, come back. And the last 2 weeks, I've just done fuck all.
Really?
Yeah. Like I've seen my friends, played a little bit of golf, but like the majority of the day where I'm normally like out doing shit and just like basic life stuff, like you got to clean your car, bro. You got to do your washing. I just haven't done any of it.
You've had a mini retirement.
Yeah, 100%.
Your highest point of your career is retired.
Yeah,
instantly.
I'm just like, nah, it's done.
Well, for those that don't know, we have to tell them, like, obviously a bit about Jack Jenkins. If you aren't into the combat scene or mixed martial arts, pretty amazing. The boy from back of Smash here, he's gone and done something not many have done in this country. And he went over to fight in the Dana White Contender Series, which was like a do or die match, really, because to win or to gain a contract in the UFC, you had to win. And then even if you did win, it wasn't also guaranteed, was it, potentially?
Yeah, for sure. So like that's that's one of the things that makes Contender Series so unique, is that every fight in my career up until Contender Series and every fight from now moving forward, winning is enough. If you win, that's enough. Like that's a good performance. Whereas the Contender Series is so different in that you can win, but if you don't win well, that could still put your career back years.
Really?
Like I never looked at it like it's the end of my career if I lost or if I didn't get the contract, because I just don't see it in that. Like I always knew I was going to get in some way, and the Contender Series was my first shot, but if that didn't come off, I would have found another way.
Right.
But to think that I could win and still be put back 2 or 3 years in the timeline was like, fuck, that's a lot. So big pressure, but got in, ended up getting a TKO with 30 seconds left in the third round. That the 11th hour, I got it done. And Dana White called my name and said, welcome to the UFC. So I was wrapped.
Dude, it was pretty surreal. I want to go into the fight because the first time we met was at a sea bath and we're doing a bit of recovery, and it was like pre your fight, and we're obviously talking about it, and I was like, this guy's a nice guy, man. He doesn't look like he's going to just kill people for a living. And then I watched your fight and you literally painted the canvas red with his head. Yeah. And I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. Like the gash in the guy's head. I was like, is he going to stop? Can the guy see at this point? Yeah. But you mauled him, man. You literally.
Well, look, I found out pretty early that I was significantly better than him in the grappling and that I was a lot stronger than him as well. So when it came when it came time to be able to go back there, I just kept going. And we had planned for that with my coaches that at least for the first round, I was going to take him down to gas his arms out. Because what he had done, if you looked at his fights leading up to that, was that he gets people involved in these kind of brawls. He engages in this like, you hit me, I hit you type thing. And he's pretty good at getting hit, but he's also really good at hitting people back and dropping them.
Right.
So what I did was go, well, I'm not going to engage where he's good. Let's take him to where I think he's going to be the weakest. And it became really clear on the ground that was where it was.
Yeah, because that was like a big part of the fight, and to the point where even Dana White, because I'm like, from my background, I'm like, when it comes to sport, it's just like about winning at that level. But as you touched on, there's like an element of the Contender Series where no, it's like performance too.
For sure.
And even though Dana White's like, yeah, he won convincingly, but like he used that term one trick pony.
One trick pony.
And I could just see like you were like, fuck off, because you didn't really even showcase because you're naturally a kickboxer and that's where your sort of skill set come from. You didn't really even showcase that in the fight. So it's like, fuck, you don't really know what else is left, but he's only seen that performance, hasn't he? So
yeah, and he openly says that he won't watch anything on the guys coming in. He'll watch your 15 minutes in the cage, or if you don't make it to the 15, he'll watch whatever you show him and he'll go off that. So I had the other matchmakers who had put the fight together in his ear saying, hey, look, he dominated the wrestling, but this guy's actually a kickboxer. So that worked out in my favor, that he sort of went, all right, well then he's multifaceted skill set. We'll give him a go.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I think your comment as well, I loved how you just got on the mic like, yeah, look, I agree with what he said, but I was like, fuck man, you got to do what you got to do to win here as 100%. Well. And I was like, and it's interesting to hear, because I was like, oh, I don't know why you went to the ground, but now you've spoken about it, like it's so smart.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, you always... Like we look at it, the way I talk about it with my coaches is in percentages, right? So if I say, I thought I was a better kickboxer than him already on the feet, but let's say my advantage on the feet is 60 to 40. 60% of the time I would win a fight on the feet and 40% of the time he would win.
Right.
But on the ground, it's 90 to 10. Right, 90% of the time on the ground I'd beat him, 10% of the time he'd beat me. Which one am I going to go to? I'm going to take the odds at the 90% and take it there and beat him there, rather than go... That's an ego thing, going, oh, I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to kickbox him because, I want to be that guy. It's like, no, take the avenue that is the path to least resistance to victory. Yeah. So that's what I did. And even then, when you watch the fight, it wasn't like I was doing no work. Like I was going to work
the whole time.
Yeah. I've actually got a real funny story about that cut on his eye. So when you get like I've never had it before, and I'm still kind of getting accustomed to like having the blue tick and, having a lot of followers and stuff. But I always check like all my messages, and anyone who sends me a message, or at the time, I'll like reply. I'll be like, yeah,
I'm like
thank
that
you.
Too, actually.
I'm
it's
like,
an OCD
thanks.
thing.
Yeah. I'm like, thanks so much. Even if it's just a little like something small, I'll write back. And I checked my message requests after the Contender Series got announced, and I had this message from this kid, and I won't say his full name on Instagram, but his name was Ben P. And I reckon Ben P must be in high school or maybe like something around there. And Ben P messages me and he says, hey mate, I've watched every fight I can find of the guy you're fighting. And he goes, two things, like your leg kicks will work. And he goes, and I went on this Peruvian website and I found a photo of him and his eye got cut open in a fight. And he sends me this photo that he's Googled. He's gone deep into South American media to find. And the guy, I thought his eye was split right open. And that's the only fight the guy had lost, was that his eye was split right open. And he goes, so I think if you can touch him there, his eye will split right open. And I go, I do. It was in my message request. It wasn't like, and I reply, I'm like, fuck, thanks, bro. Like, that's good as. Like, I'll think about that. And I just remember getting on the ground and thinking, if I hit this eye, it's going to fucking bust open.
So mid-Contender Series, you're thinking of Ben P.
I'm thinking Ben P's told me, open up this. Bastard. Yeah, I'm like, open this guy's eye. And I hit him and it splits open. I'm like, that fucker was right.
How old was this kid?
I don't know. I think, I haven't even looked.
Is he Aussie? Like,
yeah, he's an Aussie kid.
He's going deep into Peruvian websites looking for gashed heads.
Yeah. And he's an Aussie kid. And anyway.
Jesus, mum and dad.
Yeah. And anyway, I was like, fuck, that's such a good story. I have to tell that somewhere. This is the first time I've said it.
That is unbelievable. That's getting clipped, bro. That was unbelievable.
And anyway, then I've gone back, like, and just this week, I'm going to be on UFC Perth. And just this week it got announced, and he sent me a message and said, like, let me know when you've got your opponent.
Don't you?
And I was like, let's go. And I sent him a message back and I said, hey mate, just to let you know, I'll send you a family and friends code and you can get a ticket through my links just to make sure you get a ticket and stuff. And he was like, wow, that's so good. Thank you so much. Like, he's like, oh, do you reckon I could buy 2? Because I want to bring like someone. I'm like, mate, don't stress. Yeah, when I get the link and I've got an opponent locked, I'll send it out to you and you'll be right. And I was like, fuck, that's such a cool story. I can't wait to go to, I think he's from Perth, and go and meet him and be like, oh, this is a cool story.
That is one of the most unique things I've ever heard in my life, bro.
It pays to go through those requests.
So, because you obviously you had a bit of a platform, and I think you had about 12 professional fights already before the Contender Series. So you obviously had a following and fan base.
Yep.
So obviously there's people out there that have been following your journey the whole way through as well. Have you seen a shift, like obviously the blue tick and even just the attention, the media, since winning that Contender Series fight?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think my support base was like really localized. Like I was heavy. Like the Bacchus Marsh community got around me like early doors. Like businesses would support me and sponsor me for fights. People would buy tickets. Like if you ever went to one of the old Hex events, it would be like, I would be like fight 1, 2 or 3, like the earliest fights, and the place would just fucking erupt because like half of Bacchus Marsh was there. And then they would all leave, and like there were some fights where there would be people around, obviously. But like I remember one night where I fought middle of the card, and then by the end of the card, it felt very empty in there because there'd sort of been 250 people who had gone, oh, we came to see Jack, let's leave. And that, in a sense, being a fighter who can sell tickets really helps you with things. Like I probably wouldn't have got my title shot at the time I did had I not had a bit of a reputation for selling tickets and that sort of stuff. So I think just having don't try and be an international superstar first, because that will come if you handle, if you handle the growth. Try and be like a superstar for your area and, really embrace that, which I've tried to do with Bacchus Marsh. And then I'll try and grow that. All right, Bacchus Marsh knows me, and, I'm proud to be from there, and people are proud to sort of have me from there. And then I'll try and go bigger. Like, all right, now I want Melbourne. Like, I want to be known as like Melbourne's guy, like the state and the city and the area. I want to be that. And then eventually you try and build it out and be like, all right, now I can be one of Australia's champions.
That's one of the things I noticed the first time I'd met about you. I was like, you were already thinking about how you market yourself post-fight. You were obviously thinking about the fight, but you're like, when I win, I've got a strategy, or there's things that I would like to promote. And I was like, fuck that. I love that shit. Because I was like, in most sports, particularly in Australian sport, like everyone's kind of like humble. You don't see people calling like, yeah, we're going to win this week. Oh, I'm going to have 30 points in the NBL this week on this guy. Like, no one calls each other out or anything like that. But UFC, it's like the best part of the sport.
Yeah, and you have to. Like, there's no option not to. Like, my ability to make money in a fight is 15 minutes 3 times a year maybe. Right. But my ability to make money and set myself up for a life after fighting outside of that is so big, which is why I was telling you, I don't care if you've got 100 followers on your podcast or 1,000 or your ESPN. Like, it doesn't bother to me. If you want to take the time to interview me and have me on your show, I'll do it. And obviously there's limits to that. If I'm getting ready for a fight, I'm going to cut it down and that sort of thing. But at the moment where I'm, have a little bit of time, I just want to do as much as I can, tell as many people as I can my story and get out for that.
So how important, like, who are some people in the UFC that you would look up to in regards to like showmanship and like the promotion of like there's obviously McGregor.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you reckon you'll fight again just on him?
Yeah, 100%. He'll come back.
Is it possible for that long? Like, because in most sports, when you take a big break, I mean, unless he's training actively, but it doesn't look like to me he's smoking cigars and drinking whiskey everywhere I see him.
The one thing is I just don't think anything that man does you can write off. It's like everything he touches turns to gold. Yeah. It's like, why would you write him off? And he's been written off so many times before. It's highly unlikely, and it would be so big if he did come back and do it. But, I know personally from people who have left the game and things like that when you come back, it's very different. Like it's a different landscape every 6 to 12 months. And if you leave and come back, you get left behind real quick. So it's an uphill battle for him. But if anyone can do it, it's Conor.
Yeah. Is there anyone else outside of him that you like sells a fight really well? Or
I really like Sugar Sean O'Malley. A little left field one, I really like Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier was different because he did it his way, and he didn't try and fit any mold and like be outlandish or anything, but his character was just really endearing. So I found that people really liked him.
That's why he's so good on the other side now as like a reporter or a broadcaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love Colby Covington, and people hate that. People are like,
puts eyes on the TV.
But it's like Colby, like, from all reports, everyone who meets Colby, like, outside of
very
Colby,
different.
apparently it's like he's just a G, like a good guy. And the thing is, why I have the respect for him is that, like, he was gonna get cut. He got told by the UFC, you are going to get cut. You are too boring. And he knew, he goes, well, I can't suddenly overnight turn into a fucking kickboxer who's knocking people out. I have to be a wrestler. So how can I not get cut from the UFC? So he just went, I'll be as outlandish and wild as I possibly can.
Jeez.
And it is, I think people underestimate how hard it is to do that. It's very, very easy. And I've been a victim of this myself, and I've seen so many people do it. And for some people, it is their personality. But it's very easy to sit there and answer interview questions and say, oh, I don't know, the best guy's going to win, and be vanilla. And that comes easy because you're not putting anything out there. There's no risk in it. But to be Colby and just be as far outlandish as you can and almost put on this act and then have to back it up by actually doing the work to train and get to the fight. That's so hard to do.
Right.
So more so than anything he says, I just respect that he's done that and put himself in the position he's done by doing that.
I never knew that about him. That's so fun. Like, it actually doesn't makes me give him a little bit more respect than I did.
100%.
Because the way he was, I was like, this guy's a fucking dickhead. Like,
he's
someone's got to knock him out.
But that's what he is. He goes.
But then he was winning fights too, and then I was like, oh my god, bro, someone knock this guy out.
100%. And it's like, if you're gonna watch, I don't care if you want to watch me lose or watch me win. Like, just watch.
Yeah.
Buy the pay-per-view.
I thought, just speaking of the guy that actually did beat him, Kamaru Usman, I didn't think anyone was ever going to beat Usman.
Yeah.
I was pretty shocked with that.
Yeah, I'll show you a clip of me calling Leon Edwards beating him.
Did you really?
I did a podcast the week of the fight.
Why did you call that though?
I thought the 5 rounds suited Leon. And I have, when I bet on certain things, and if I'm asked to pick something, I like to look at how people are in the lead up and the storyline and stuff. And one thing I look for is if anyone says anything about moving away from what they're doing. So a good example is like, I'm leading up to a fight and I get asked a question about a Marvel movie I'm going to be a guest star in. And I start saying, I'm so excited about doing this Marvel movie. I'm really keen to get into acting after I retire, whatever, that sort of thing. And Usman was talking a lot about moving up to light heavyweight. He was like, I'm going to beat Leon, and then I'm going to go to light heavyweight. And for me, that was like red flag. Like, nah.
His head's in a different spot or something.
Not that. Like, and he came in and he dominated most of the fight. So, like, against that. But my thing was look for little things. And I thought their first fight was really close. They've both gotten a lot better. I think Leon has the tools to get it done. And he did it.
Wow.
And how good,
man.
Yeah, and how good was the post-fight headshot?
Yeah.
I was like, let's go.
Yeah, bro, it was fucking big, man. I was like, a lot of people were shocked in the UFC community with that because I think Usman was like a bit of a golden boy with Dana. Like, he's one of the best of his generation, if not ever.
Yeah.
And then to get stopped by Edwards, I was like, shit, that's a fucking hell of a fight.
Yeah, but then also like after he lost, like, the way Usman dealt with the loss is so endearing. Like, I find the way you look at people after they lose. Like, I've gone
especially like their first loss.
Yeah.
As well.
And I've just gone so hard towards liking Usman more since he's lost because he just handled it so well. He's like, everyone loses, I'll come back. Congrats to Leon. I hope he enjoys his time as the champ. And like, there's no part of that makes me think like, oh, he just didn't want it or anything like that. It's just like, he's just a good loser. Like, he's humble enough to go, I got beaten, I'll come back. Yeah. And that's really endearing.
That's, I have that same effect with Kambosos with the second Haney fight. Same thing. Because I'm like, fuck, man, the guy was just a better boxer, but you can't knock Kambosos. He threw everything he had. But the way he lost, like 2 fights on his home turf, the way he lost, like, I gave him a lot of respect.
For sure. And like, he kind of knew after the first one that they had the rematch clause. So that fight, that was just one part of what he knew was a 2-part fight. So he couldn't give away too much in that fight. But now he knows he'll never fight Haney again. Yeah. There's no real way he can ever get back there. He might take some different routes and get some big fights, but he'll never get that fight again.
Yeah.
So for him, it's what am I holding on to other than to say I got beaten by a better boxer? So credit to him.
Yeah, true. Very good point. Now to jump back just to, because I do want to go into a little bit of the background after the UFC, but just to like grasp what you have achieved, like you're at the pinnacle of mixed martial arts in a sense in the UFC. Like, is that a bit surreal to like
so surreal
claim yourself as a UFC fighter? Legit. I mean, when I met you, you were lugging this fucking UFC backpack around, and me and Geordie were
yeah, and Geordie was taking the piss out of me. Like, I've got a UFC backpack.
A UFC fighter.
Yeah. There's a good story to that backpack. My
the biggest
coach,
backpack I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
by
a
the
big
way.
backpack. Well, you got to fit your gloves and your shin pads in it.
Oh, there's the size of my body.
That's cap. That is a massive cap. My coach, whose gym is just up the road here, he came back from coaching Dan Kelly, who's a UFC fighter, and he gave me the bag and he was like, here you go. Like, and he kind of gives out little bits and pieces to the guys because he gets a heap of gear when he's in the UFC. And he said, you can have the bag because I know when you're in the UFC, I'll get another one. So you'll pay me back by getting in the UFC.
That's mad.
So I just like, that backpack's like a totem. It's like I carry it everywhere. It's like, no, I'm going to get another one to give back to him. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, to answer your question, it is 100% completely surreal. And like, I love it.
I reckon
like,
it's the coolest thing ever.
It's so cool.
What do you do? I'm a UFC fighter.
Yeah, 100%. And you can say it now because I would get asked that question for like the last 6 years and it would be, what do you do? And I would say, I'm an MMA fighter.
Yeah. Okay.
And they would say, but like, what's your job? And I'd be like, well, I do some coaching on the side to keep money coming in and I just scrape by paying my bills. But what I do is that's what I do full time. Like all my energy goes into that. And that people sort of can't comprehend that if they're not in the space. It's like, okay. But now people can say, what do you do? And I say, I fight in the UFC. And then that carries a bit of weight. And it's just like, just shut their mouth. Yeah, and it's like, that's pretty cool. And it's like, yeah, respect. It is pretty cool. Yeah. But like there's parts of it. I was out in Melbourne at the convention centre a couple of weekends ago. And I was with two of my good friends who I also coach, and they've also had a couple of amateur fighters, real good fellas. And we were just like walking around, like doing our thing. And then these three dudes came running up to us and they're like, yo, Jack, can we get a photo? And I was like, yeah, of course, boys, of course, come in. Like, we got a photo. And then then you could see other people looking at us, like trying to figure out who I was that they would want to take a photo with me.
That's the best part.
And they're looking around like, I wonder who that guy is. And then I was like, thanks heaps, boys. Like, fuck. And I was like, I'd never been asked for a photo before outside of like at a fight. Like there's some guys at fights who would ask me for a photo.
So in broad public.
In like public by guys who I've got no idea. And they walked off and I just turned to my two friends and I was like, fuck, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? And they were like, yeah, that was really, that was really cool.
Oh man.
And ended up, those three boys, they tagged me on Instagram and I was like, yeah, we're at Crown, come for a beer. And they just came out and partied with us all night.
Bro, you're a man of the people, aren't you?
Yeah, fucking oath.
Jesus.
It's like those guys forever. Like I'll remember those guys forever as like, they're the first dudes who ever asked me for a photo, like when I got in the UFC. And, I believe that I'm going to stay in the UFC for a long time and have a big career and have a big following and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to do the work to get that. But I'll always have that moment. It's like, remember when the first time I got asked for a photo? It's like I tried for 15 years to get in the UFC. And that was the first time anyone ever recognized me.
That's pretty special, bro.
Yeah, real special.
You know what's special about that to me is the fact that you are going to remember them.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it'll be them. They'll be like, fuck, we met Jack Jenkins. When you're always like, no, I'm going to remember those street kids.
Yeah. Well,
what the fuck?
Yeah. we were out at Crown and one of them was like, hey, is it weird if I FaceTime one of my friends to prove that I'm here, like having pink drinks with you? And I'm like, get him on the phone. Get him on the phone. Yeah.
So out the back, because obviously Dana said what he said to the cameras and stuff, but like when you knew you were in the UFC, did you have some conversations with him? And like, I guess just through some of those conversations you potentially had, what's he actually like? Because I actually think as like a business operator and a CEO of like a sport, he is unbelievable. The amount of shit that people try to throw at him and he can duck and just come back at you brutally. He handles things so well.
Yeah. Like when we went out the back, he came and everyone who gets a contract, he kind of comes around and we have handlers. So we have people who are like taking us, you sit here, you wait here, you're next for the interviews. And then Dana has his own kind of handlers that keep him like moving because otherwise he'll stand and talk for ages.
Yeah.
So he came to me and he gave me a bottle of Howler Head and I
saw you showing that,
already had my happy dad because I remember I told you I was going to call out. I was like,
Did you call out Nelk or Salim?
Nelk and happy dad.
Oh, you called both?
I did both. So I said to you when we're in the when we're at the sea baths, I was like, nah, after my fight, I'm going to call out. I want to play golf with the Nelk boys and I want a happy dad deal. So my homie who got a ticket to the fight, I got him to bring happy dads in. So then when I walked out and I got my contract, he's like, here, and he gave me 2 cans of Happy Dad. So all my interviews when I was walking out the back, I had these 2 cans of Happy Dad with me.
Marketing genius again.
Well, it's like you got to fucking...
Anything come of that then? Or not
well, we're like in talks with them, and like I'm DMing with Salim a little bit. Like we just
get the fuck out.
Yeah, we talk.
Salim the dream.
Yeah, Salim the dream. I'll show you. We should get a video up of his golf swing. He sends me a video of his golf swing, and I'm just like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, because I saw you put up a story yesterday, and you tagged him of your golf swing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? I was saying to Geordie on the phone, I'm like, bro, he's tagging Salim the dream, bro.
Yeah. No, we talk. Like he was asking me about Islam and Charles and that sort of shit. Like he's just he's a cool dude. Like probably like not too dissimilar to like me, you, Geordie, who would probably hang out with us.
He seems like relatable.
Yeah, like he would hang out with us. So, I was like, fuck, I want to play this game. We actually, after my fight, it just worked out really well that Salim was coming to Vegas to film some shit. And he was like, I'll book us in for some golf Saturday morning. You keen to come? I'm like, yeah, let's play match play. How much a hole? Like, and he was like, oh yeah, whatever. And then it got to Friday and he ended up having to do some filming shit. So we didn't play golf. But I'm sure I'll get that game eventually for putting that out there and trying. I'll get that game and hopefully the Happy Dad deal comes with it when they launch here in Australia. I'm sure it won't come before that, but that'll be good. But yeah, Dana out the back gives me the howler head and I just sort of said, yeah, I kind of agree, like one trick pony. And I said, I think one thing that happened was that the no crowd and the pressure of the environment and like just walking out with no music and none of the things that you usually can hold on to stay in your rhythm, it threw me off a little bit. So, maybe I could have done a little bit more on the feet before I took it to the ground and stuff. But, I'm happy. I'm just happy I got the contract. And Dana goes, you dominated. He goes, your mount was so fucking good. He's like, your mount was slick. You dominated, buddy. And then when I said like, the arena was a bit different and stuff, he said 100%. He said, you're not the first person to say it. It's the UFC for a reason. It's hard to get into. It's a big event. And then he sort of got pulled away by his guys. And I was like, wow, I was real happy with that conversation.
That's crazy.
And for me, I'm like you. I have nothing but respect for Dana as like a businessman. He's so smart.
Dude, he's just genius. I love his press conferences.
Yeah. And I remember because I've wanted to get in the UFC since I was a kid. So I would watch his press conferences when I was a kid. And I come from like the fucking vanilla bullshit AFL media that you come to, and then he's on the press conference going, no, fuck that guy. Yeah. That's fucking bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, this
one
guy's
of his fighters. Fuck him.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He's like, he pays him as one of his fighters.
And like the media, he's like, fuck it, like goes off at people and shit. And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool that he just does it his way. Yeah. And he's not, pressured into folding into a certain lines that people expect of someone who run a $4-5 billion company.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And talking to him, I reckon exactly what you expect is exactly what you get, except maybe a little bit more approachable and friendly, like super friendly.
Right. Yeah, because we only see the firm, business side. We don't see the personal aspect sometimes.
Like he made me feel like you are part of the company, enjoy it. Let's go from here. So that was really good.
Pretty cool. So what age did you actually want to be in the UFC? Because I feel like people don't, I don't, and I could be wrong here, right? But people grow into wanting to be in the UFC because they start learning mixed martial arts and they start and they're good and then they look at it. Whereas like for some people, they're born, they go to one AFL game, like I want to be an AFL player, and they might not have even kicked a footy before or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you always have that crystal clear vision, or did you kind of grow and build into it with your skill sets and training?
Well, I think I would have been 13. Yeah, it would be 13 or 14.
Yeah,
hard to remember those days. And I watched a UFC fight and I was like,
were you training kickboxing at this
Wasn't
point?
doing that yet.
So you weren't even doing it?
No, but my brother was.
Okay.
But that's why I think the UFC fight had been put on or something like that. And I watched and I went, that's it.
Wow.
That's it. I was like, I just want to do that. And there's a weird thing, like I had always been pretty good. When you wrestle with your mates and your brothers and your cousins and stuff, I'd always been
Natural
pretty fucking
talent.
good. Like against
people accidentally.
untrained adolescent kids, I'll get them. Like if I had to come up against anyone who had any training, I would have been in real trouble. Like
untrained
two lessons of
kids.
Yeah, anyone two lessons of jiu-jitsu, I would have been out of my depth. But someone who doesn't understand fighting, just like naturally how balanced are you, how strong are you wrestling and stuff, I was pretty good. So I thought, I watched this fight and watched the wrestling and the kickboxing. I said, fuck, I want to do that. And my brother was training at the time. I watched him fight and I went, right, take me up to the gym. We went to this gym, Ziggy's gym, and he runs it out the back of his business, which is a tire fitting place. So it's got like this real distinct smell. It's kind of like a mix between rubber and like tire oil and sweat. And it's just like a hard place.
Sounds awful.
No, it's awesome. Like I couldn't, like I love it.
I mean, awesome.
Like you go out the back at Ziggy's and there's this big sliding like garage door and it's just like all hard. Like
underground proper
yeah,
vibes.
like, and Ziggy who runs it, he's hard and he makes you work like so hard in every class. And I'm like 14, a little bit chubby, probably not used to that like hard work, and you just have to just go up and grind. And then I always said to Ziggy that I didn't want to be a kickboxer. I wanted to be a MMA guy. So he would just let me like do MMA on guys. He'd be like in the middle of a round, he'd be like, do MMA now. And I'd be like, let's go, like do a takedown. And these guys just have to like deal with it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was
proper
awesome.
Street rules.
Yeah, he's like, all right, you can do takedowns now.
Yeah.
And eventually got to a point where, you know, I'd learned a lot of kickboxing. I still have a lot to learn, obviously, but I needed to be coached through the ground stuff and the wrestling. Mm-hmm. So my brother found a gym in Melton, where I still coach at now. And went down there and met Heath and Callie who run that gym, and Heath took me right under his wing. And Heath said to me from, you know, lesson 3 or 4, he said, if you want to, you can get to the UFC. Like there's no ceiling on how good you can get.
What? So he's picked that up from seeing the first few sessions?
He would have said that. Yeah, Heath would have said that to me probably like 4 or 5 lessons in.
Wow.
Yeah. And to be fair, he's put his money where his mouth is from then and just backed me.
So did you have obviously natural talent at this as well? Because I feel like with mixed martial arts, especially like jiu-jitsu and stuff, like it's, like you said, if you verse someone with 2 sessions, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get tapped. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. So I have this theory that I think the difference between someone who's untrained and someone who's done 6 months of training is about the same difference in skill as someone who's done 6 months in training and the best guy in the world at jiu-jitsu. Like your learning curve in that first 6 months, if you really apply yourself to it, is so steep. Like you wouldn't believe how much someone who thinks they know what they're doing can learn really quickly. Like it's crazy.
My best mate took it up recently, or like a couple months ago, and it would have been his 3rd session. Yeah. And I was like, how'd you go? He goes, I got tapped. I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, 28 times.
Yeah.
In half an hour. And I was like, what? I'm like, against who? He's like, man, 14-year-olds and stuff would tap me. He goes, you don't understand jiu-jitsu, bro. Yeah. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah, and I was like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but when I like came sort of into the UFC of like watching it and like really getting fascinated by all the forms of mixed martial arts, the one common thread was like jiu-jitsu's like one of the most powerful or prevalent. Like some of the best fighters have the best sort of backgrounds in jiu-jitsu. And I always used to look for the jiu-jitsu kind of form fighters, which is not always the case. Obviously strikers and kickboxers and sort of wrestlers do really well as well.
Yeah.
But is jiu-jitsu like seen as like a really important mixed martial art, or have I got that wrong?
No, 100%. You just can't get away in the UFC with being really deficient at anything right now. There were times, you know, in the past where you could be just a specialist kickboxer, a specialist jiu-jitsu guy, specialist boxer, and you still have people who lean towards one way, but you just can't come in and not be a very good grappler or a very good striker. Yeah. You have to have
like all of the
you have to be well-rounded. And often people who come in who are specialists, so the really, really good jits guys who don't have a lot of time to sort of round out their skill set struggle.
They get
same way that really, really good strikers who come in who don't spend a lot of time rounding out their skill set struggle as well.
So you've got to be good across all the arts.
Yeah. Israel Adesanya is a really good example where he could have got in the UFC way earlier than he did, just based on how good his kickboxing record was, how well he speaks, all that sort of stuff. He could have got in so much earlier, but he told the UFC, no, I want to come in on my terms, because he knew he needed to round out his skill set more. And he went and he did the work. And then when he went into the UFC, it was like, I want to go into the UFC ready to win a world championship. And he did. So even someone who you look at like Adesanya, he took the time to go, just being a fucking unreal kickboxer isn't enough. I've got to round out my skill set.
Yeah, dude, that's why I think that's UFC is probably one of the hardest sports in the world, because you've got all the various forms of mixed martial arts combined into the one.
For sure.
It's like 5 different sports or 6 different sports, whatever it is.
It's crazy.
Like, do you know what I mean? And you've got to be good at everything.
Yeah. And you won't, like, you wouldn't believe how quickly, like if I go and specialize and I go, all right, I'm going to do a block where I focus on my jiu-jitsu a lot. And I do, I'd say like 10 weeks, like 8 to 10 weeks, I'll come back and I'll be like a fair bit better at that. But I'll be so far behind for a couple of weeks in my striking, and vice versa. Like if I just strike for 8 weeks and then come back and do my grappling, I can tell immediately that my grappling's off and that other guys who have been training are either getting closer to me or maybe have passed me. Wow. So that's why it's so hard to do, because you can't just specialize in one thing.
Right. So just maybe, and this is kind of a two-way question, because would you, like in a typical training session when you're not preparing for a fight, or like a training week or month, would you be doing a bit of everything in the one session? Would you be focusing on different areas? And then the flip on that is, in fight camp, are you training differently on specific stuff, like for this Linares fight or whatever it was, where you knew you're probably going to go more on the ground and stuff? Were you focusing there, or are you still training all your skill sets to be sharp?
So I do 3 sessions a week that are both grappling and striking. So Tuesday morning, Thursday morning, and then obviously sparring, which is MMA sparring. We do it all on Friday night. Every other session is specialized. So it's either pads with my coach Andy, grappling with my coach Simon, or out at St Kilda with Lockie Giles.
So you're bouncing it everywhere around Melbourne at the different specialist kind of gyms and stuff.
Yep. So I've got a great relationship with coach out here, Andy. He's been my striking coach for years, and I stick with him. Simon is sort of my MMA coach, and he does most of my grappling. But when I want to do some specialist jiu-jitsu stuff, I head out to Lockie Giles in St Kilda.
Fuck, man. Pretty cool, huh? So the reason why I wanted to ask about when we're thinking of the UFC, because right after you got your contract, I think you spoke about like how straight away you've gone from just being a pro MMA fighter into the UFC. And then once you've got that contract, you're getting toured through the UFC headquarters by Forrest Griffin.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you would have probably been watching him fight almost back in the day. So that would have been nuts.
Yeah. So my coach was opening a gym, Simon, and this is the gym that I train at. I fight out of Absolute MMA. He was opening Absolute MMA, and Forrest Griffin was in town for like some big fucking like ASN, like something at Convention Centre, signing autographs.
This is like Hall of Fame UFC
like a
fighter.
superstar, Forrest Griffin.
Used to go to war.
Yeah, and my coach went up to him at the autograph signing, and he's like, "Oh, you want an autograph?" And my coach is like, "Look, I don't want an autograph, but I've got 15 grand cash in a bag, and if you come to a seminar at my gym, I'll pay it to you." And Forrest is like, "All right, fucking done." So my coach organizes this seminar by waiting in line for an autograph and goes, "I've got 15 grand cash, come to a seminar at my gym." And Forrest is like, yeah. And my coach goes to give it to him. He's like, "Don't fucking give it to me here." So he ends up like taking it out, and we do this seminar, and my coach in Melton goes, "Hey, Forrest Griffin's doing a seminar." So we caught the train in together, me and my coach and a few others, and I trained with Forrest.
Whoa,
yeah.
bro.
And I was like to Forrest Griffin, I took my photo with him. I'll show you the photo. I've got this photo with Forrest Griffin, and I was like,
"How old are you here?"
Oh, probably 15 or 16.
So you're a kid.
Yeah, like I'm a kid. And I take this photo with him, and I'm like, "Hey, Forrest, I'm going to be in the UFC one day." And he looks at me, he's like, "Yeah, go on." Like, cool kid. And then before Contender Series, I sent him an email, and I was like, "Hey, Forrest, this is me and you. I told you I was going to get to the UFC. Not there yet, but I'm going to get a contract on this night." And he was like, "Fuck, that's cool as, mate. Like, I'll take you through the PI when you get your contract." So then the next day...
so this wasn't for all the fighters. This was just for you, this tour, because of that connection you'd built with him.
Yeah, like I think he works at the PI, so I think he does it for a lot of people.
Right.
But the fact that I'd made that connection and sent him that photo, he was like, "Fuck, that's really cool." So yeah,
Dude.
that was, it's again, another one of those things, and like people call it different shit. Like I hate the word manifesting. Like I fucking hate that word, but that's just me. Like I think if you can see something happening and you courageous enough to say it out loud and try and follow it, then, you can get there.
Yeah. So what's your way? Because I feel like with your fights and just the way you described it, even old mate Benny P here, like you're visualizing how things are going to happen or take place. Like how much do you think about that stuff going into fights? Like, does that where a lot of your brain space, or you're a bit more relaxed?
I
Like,
try not to, like at training, I try and have like small periods of hyper focus,
Yeah.
and then like try and switch off the rest of the time, because the closer you get to the fight, the harder it becomes to do. Like the week of the fight, you pretty much, it's like you're intoxicated with the fight. Like
Yeah,
you can't,
dude.
you really struggle to think of anything else. So if I'm 8 weeks out and I've got a spare couple of hours and I'm like, fuck, and start thinking about the fight, it's like by the time you get to it, it can be really exhausting. So I try and block it out when I'm at training, hyper focus. What can I do right now that's going to help me in 8 weeks' time? How fit can I be? What skill set could I develop or sharpen a little bit? But then outside of that, I try and like switch off it completely, whether that's like playing golf or like some video games or reading a
normality,
book.
right?
Yeah, 100%.
because otherwise, then if you don't do that, then when you go into fight camps, you know they're not going to be fun, and you're going to hate it.
Yeah,
And you want to try and enjoy that because you want to keep fighting as much as you can, right?
for sure. And like, you know, when I hang out with Geordie and play golf or whatever, it's so nice because Geordie fucking hates talking about footy all the time because all he ever gets asked about is footy. And half the time I'm over talking about and thinking about fighting all the time.
Yeah.
So we just talk shit.
Yeah,
Like we
just
talk about
absolute hammering each other on
Yeah,
the
like
golf
just
course.
talk about nothing. And it's like, well, this is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's
and that's with
important, bro.
whoever I play golf with. You just talk about random shit and get your mind off stuff. So I think that's really important for everyone.
How do you cope with fight camps? Are you pretty good with them? Because like when we caught up that time, I think we went like, you were like on your diet, but you're like, well, I might not come there for dinner. I'm like, no, we're going to like this healthy fish place. She's like, oh, actually, yeah, I'll come.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally ordered you an extra fish. I'm like, fuck, George, I think I might have lost him his fight. He's going to put on some weight.
He's going to put on some
I actually
weight
said that to him
from
this
my
fuck,
white
bro. I hope he
fish.
doesn't lose that fight because I got him an extra grilled fish there.
No. The grilled fish was good. I'm pretty, because I'm real. Like I said to you boys, I can't really come. Like, because I'm so strict with it, I don't really struggle. Like I woke up a kilo and 1.2 kilos overweight on the morning of the fight. So I only had to cut a kilo on the day of the weigh-in, which might sound like a lot to someone.
Yeah, to me that sounds like holy
That's
shit.
fuck all. Like
What the
I know
fuck?
people who cut 6-7 kilos on the day of the weigh-in.
Oh, that's not healthy.
Gross. It's disgusting. But yeah, so yeah, dealing with fight camp, I feel like I'm pretty good. You just get better at it with time. And the thing I've learned is that you're going to feel shit at times and you're going to feel really good at times. And don't let either one like trick you. Like just know that when you feel real shit, you're not really shit. You just feel really shit.
Right.
And when you feel really, really good, don't let it change anything you're doing. Just stay the course. Make your plan at the start of the week. Hit every session that you've planned for. Hit the diet that you've planned for and go from there. Because when you feel really good, sometimes you can get ahead of yourself and go, fuck, I'm going to hit an extra session. I'm going to do an extra session of sparring. And that's when stuff starts to derail one way. And the other one where you can go, fuck, I feel really shit. I'm not feeling good. And then you start to question yourself and that sort of stuff. Now I'm pretty good at just going, you're going to feel shit at points. You're going to feel really good at points. Just
roll
fucking show up the next day and you'll be all right.
I think I asked you this last time. I hope you don't mind me asking on here, but do you abstain from sex in fight camp?
Nah, not at all. I'm not.
Some do though, don't they?
Yeah. Pretty common, I would think.
That's for me. I'd be like, fuck, I hate fight camp, bro. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd be like, fuck, I'm done. I'm out.
Fuck that, bro.
I'm out. Nah. I'm not abstinent at all.
Okay.
It depends.
Is that more a mental thing though? Like for people as
Yeah, I
opposed to
think
like
it's I think it's just personal choice. Like people like to be like,
the edge of
I don't know. I think it's like antsy. Like you like to be like ready. Whereas like if you feel like you don't want to be like relaxed and chilling out.
Got ya.
One thing I do struggle with, like in terms of intimacy, is like I really struggle being like lovey, I would use the word, or like cuddly or like really friendly.
How does your
partner.
missus cope with fight camp?
Yeah,
is that like a fucking fight
it's
camp for
so
her?
so hard for her.
Yeah, I
like,
can imagine,
and
actually.
she's so good at dealing with it.
Yeah.
But like I'm trying to like turn into like, because like I'm pretty gentle generally speaking. Like
Yeah, I
pretty,
was a bit shocked by the bloody canvas. in
pretty-
Vegas, bro.
So I'm trying over that 8-week fight camp to just like get my head in like dark places, like get ready to like really hurt someone and ultimately get myself ready to be really hurt and go through that if I need to. So it sounds weird, but like I'm not looking to like have like really nice times. Like I don't like having really nice things around. Like I don't like doing things that make you feel really comfortable or fancy or like anything. I like to be super basic, like
Dry,
almost
just-
grungy, where it's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm grinding, which is because that's where I came from. Like I came from sleeping at the gym during fight camps because it was too far to get back to Bacchus Marsh and I can't afford an apartment. So I just sleep on the floor at the gym.
Bro, that's insane.
Yeah. And then now, like I've got a little bit, I'm by no means making bank yet, but I can afford an apartment near the gym. And it's like, you're sleeping in like fucking Egyptian cotton sheets. And it's like, no, I fucking hate this. Like I don't want to be comfortable. Like I need to be kind of uncomfortable and sort of struggling. I don't need that, but I like to feel that kind of
Like
grind.
it's a bit of it's a tough place. You don't want it to be a nice place.
Yeah, I don't want everything to go smoothly. I don't want everything to be comfortable. I don't want everything to be nice and friendly around me. I need a little bit of war in a sense.
That's, you know what's funny, right? Do you know Chris Terziewski? He's over this boxer, a heavyweight boxer.
No.
Anyway, so he beat Paul Gallen, not the last Paul Gallen,
okay.
he fought 2 in one night, but the one before that, he beat him. He's like a pro fighter out here.
Yeah.
But he's a Victorian or Australian champion. Anyway, he's such a nice guy. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, how do you like knock people out? Like, like what? Because I was like, the nice ones scare me, you know, when you can't see the switch. And he was saying when he goes into fight camp, he needs to go into like this really dark place, like similar to what you said. And it was so fucking funny. He said the day of one of his fights, his missus came home with a puppy. And like, he's like, what the fuck is that? No, don't bring that near me. Cause like I'm in a dark place and I want that fucking little thing bringing me into this soft spot. And it's like just exactly what you said. I was like, fucking hell, it's for him too. The same thing.
No, that doesn't shock me at all. People need to take themselves there in their different ways.
Fuck, man.
But yeah, that's just me. I prefer to go a little bit dark, and I run at night. Like always run at night. Like the darker the better. Like yeah,
this guy's nuts now. Now I'm starting to see why.
Yeah.
That bloody canvas.
And I always I do weird shit that's like weird shit that sounds like cliche, but like I live in.
Can you tell me all the weird shit that you?
Yeah. So I live in Collingwood, and I'll run up past and through like the G. Rod Laver, that sort of shit. And I run and I'm gonna be here one day, but I'm gonna be fighting. And it's like, that's like 3, 4, 5 years ago, that might be far fetched. Whereas now that's
fucking
like, it's almost a guarantee that I'm gonna fight there. So I'm like running past there at night and I'm like, fuck, this is like my city. Like I do the work here. Like I run the streets here and I've been doing it since I was young. And like you're telling yourself like, I'm going to fight at Rod Laver and like these guys are going to come here and they're going to come into like my town. And like you just get yourself like all worked up as you're running.
Are you listening to like Rocky music or some shit at this point? Like just crazy
whatever.
shit?
Like it depends. Sometimes if I need to just sort of clear my head out, I'll run with no headphones.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
if I just feel real good and it's like one of those nights, like it's raining, I'll just chuck the jacket on, the beats on the inside and just fucking go, man.
Like, watch out for that black hoodie around the G at night.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's like a UFC fighter, Jack Jenkins.
Yeah, like
just marking his territory.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was running up beside the Yarra River, right in that precinct, like near Rod Laver and that. And I'm running up fucking in the zone. And then this fucking guy stands out in front of me. Like I can see him like 20 meters away and he just stands in front of me like he's going to stop. And I immediately, in like the 6 seconds before I got to him, I'm like, if he fucking tries to stop me, he's going to get laid out. I'm like, if this guy tries to stop my run, it's going to be trouble. And then as I get closer, I realize it's one of my homies from Bacchus Marsh. And he's
God,
like, and he's on his way to a concert in the city. And he's like, it's a Saturday night at like fucking 9 o'clock at night. What the fuck is Jack doing running near the Yarra River? And I'm like, this cunt better not get in my way. And like, I didn't even stop to say hi to him. Like I wave and just like, fuck, you're in the zone.
Bro, it's like that, what's that Wedding Crashers scene? He's like, you almost nunchucked you didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Put that in the background of that.
I didn't recognize that was you. I was just running straight through it.
No idea. You almost had a near-death experience.
I would have just fucking
Here he was just waving at you.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro.
Fucking Buddy Franklin, him just trucked him.
Oh,
Anyway.
I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned it before, and we're going to round up in a sec, but you mentioned it before, the Perth card in Feb. So that's coming up for you, man. Do you have any insight of what's going on there, the dates, times, all that sort of stuff, who you may be fighting? Or
No, it's been indicated that I'm going to fight on the card because I asked to fight in December and they sort of said, hey, look, probably better if you wait. And then as it turns out, I've had a couple of like infections and stuff like that I needed to sort out. So December probably would have been a stretch anyway.
Yeah.
So February is really good timing for me, and I'm sure I'll hear on opponent sometime in December. They'll sort of run the opponent by me. I'll okay. I don't really care who
We're
I
going to
fight.
run it by Benny P as well? Or?
Benny P will be on my, like, there'll be like my 2 coaches, my brother, my missus. Benny P probably comes like 5th or 6th on the list of
I'm
who
gonna
gets.
I'm going to call it now. Call this outlandish, but this is on the. He's going to be in your fucking backroom team at some point.
Sometime
10 fights in or something. He'll
Benny
be there
P.
like strapping hands or something.
Yeah, we'll have to. If you come out to Perth, we'll have to do like a little 3, like me, you, Benny P, like a little snippet or something. That'd
That
be
just
good.
fucking amazes me, that story.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, that's going to be exciting though. So potentially February in Perth, a home card. Who else will be on that? Jimmy Crute?
Jimmy Crute, Jack Dalla Maddalena, Volko, Whitaker,
Oh,
maybe
shit.
Bam Bam. Like, it could be genuinely
Absolutely stacked.
all time.
Dude, the
Like, it
Australian
could be-
fucking UFC market is booming. Oh,
Yeah.
Australia and New Zealand obviously as well. But fuck, we are good.
So per capita, we purchase more pay-per-views than anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why they love our market
invest
so
coming
much. Like, obviously, we don't have the most people here, but for the amount of people we have here, we buy more pay-per-views than anyone.
Well, didn't we have the biggest attendance for a UFC fight, the one at Marvel with
Yep.
the Rousey and Holly
Rousey and
Holmes?
Holm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fuck. So we've got some credibility, bro.
for sure. And they love coming here. And, you know, the less I travel, the better. So
Yeah.
I want them to just keep coming back. You know, I'd like to, you know, my plan for this year is to go on that February card, and, you know, I'll probably start maybe fight 1 or 2 or 3 somewhere down the card. Then I want to go overseas and have a couple of fights in America. And then I hope the UFC comes back here in November, and I want to fight. And I think by that time I'll get 3 wins, be the end of the year, and I'll be pushing for, like, if it's a fight night, to be like up there on, you know, in the top 3-4 fights on the card. So, you know, big year 2023, and I'm just going to fucking go handlebars down and
You know,
send
you
it.
just said you hate manifestation. You've literally just described all of next year.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I hate the word.
Yeah, I hate the word too sometimes.
I had someone tell me once that they manifested, like, they just manifested, they wanted this pair of shoes, and that they manifested that these shoes would be at a certain store. And since since then, I'm like, don't tell me you manifested
right, so they
shit.
ruined it for you.
Yeah, so, like, you know, people can say, like, I just respect people who call their shots more than anything.
I love how you just described out all of 2023. That's mad, bro.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. Just on that, because we've been running this segment, and it's kind of the final question of how we end the podcast, but kind of associate 3 kind of key traits to success for people in sports or business, and probably all are important to you, but just one that really hits home to you and resonates to you, if you could. So out of drive, resilience, and ambition, one that kind of you've associated with your success and getting you to where you are.
Yeah, resilience for sure.
Sleeping
Drive,
at gyms, man.
what is it?
I didn't know you were
Drive,
sleeping at gyms.
resilience, and
Ambition.
Yeah, like, it's awfully all 3 of those, but resilience is the main one, because you can have the other 2 and you get knocked down and then it's all over. Like, the resilience is you just, the one, you know, guarantee is that you're going to struggle. Like, you're going to struggle at some point. So just be resilient enough and believe in yourself and the position you're in enough to keep going when you do.
Well, dude, Jack Jenkins, mate. It's been a hell of a show.
Thank you.
On the UFC, mate.
I'll see you again for fucking Jake and Swanee.
Oh, yeah, we're going there. Yeah, done. We'll get you on Swanee and Jake. It's coming.
Beautiful.
But pleasure, bro.
Thanks very much. It was good to be here.